welcome to Blackbriar Gaming. Today we're going to look at the Blackshields PDF. Not the whole PDF, I went and did that for my Patreons. No, I'm just going to focus in on two specific oaths of moment. A friend and I had a hypothesis that when combined, these absolutely broke the mechanics of Heresy and created maybe an unbeatable force. Well, we tested it this weekend just past and the results are in. They are absolutely confirmed. This combination that I'm going to show you is brutal. Absolutely savage. I will tell you the results of that game once we've had a look at them, but let's just go on down. So for those that aren't aware, the Blackshields, essentially they're almost like their own legion, and they allow you to pick and choose a bunch of oaths of moment that then let you bring flavor to your force and design your force in a really unique and interesting way. Lots of hobby potential. I think it's an absolutely great move, and it's nice to see GW putting this one out for free to win back a little bit of support from certain individuals that are finding the transition to 3rd edition hard. So before we get into it, just a quick look at Blackshields in general. So they get their own reaction point system, still needing a high command by the looks of it there. There's lots of rules that go behind them, but the general idea is they have their own Tactica, their own Gambit, and they have this Oaths of Moment mechanic. Now the Tactica is interesting, so it actually makes you tougher and stronger when you get battlefield statuses. So already we can see Blackshields are kind of bucking the trend of the way that mechanics within 3rd edition work. That is, statuses are going to be extremely popular and extremely necessary to shut down your ability or your opponent's ability to score victory points. Now, not only do Blackshields use those statuses to become stronger and tougher, but then they have a bunch of different way to score victory points, and it's generally through the Oaths of Moment. Not all of them interact with victory points, a bunch of them are around weapons and different options that you can take and different ways you can build an army. But the ones that we're going to look at do, because of course the way you win games is through victory points. So specifically, we've got the Bastard Sons of Fate Tactica, and that gives you +1 toughness and +1 strength if you have a battlefield status, and if you have more than one, well, you get +2 to your strength and toughness. So already these guys are going to be super hard to kill once you start layering statuses on. A lot of weapons obviously come with statuses, so most armies that go up against them will be putting these statuses on whether they want to or not, and increasing that strength and toughness. Oaths of Moment. So if your primary detachment, and in this case we're going to look at a primary detachment Blackshields army, if it's primary, you get 2, right? So if your primary detachment is Blackshields, you get to pick 2 Oaths of Moment. There are a ton. As I said, I go through each and every one and discuss it in the video I did for my Patreon members recently, but we're going to scroll past all of this. A lot of this is flavorful and fun, not overly powerful, really interesting ways to theme your army and then to hobby with them as well. Ways to convert and paint and do what not to make your army resemble one of these amazing Oaths of Moment. All representing those legions, of course, that threw off their colors and became outcasts, really, from their legions because they didn't agree with the direction their legion was going in, or for all kinds of other lore and narrative reasons that you want to get into. But no, we're going to scroll all past this. All right, we're going to look at this first one here. The first one here is Oath of Moment, the Blade of the Just. So a unit which includes mostly models with this special rule scores additional victory points for winning hard combats. So what classifies as a hard combat? Well, first let's just have a look quickly at the rules. So essentially you lose line and vanguard if you have it, and then you get this Doomed Heroics special rule. So for instance here, let's just read through it. All models with the Blackshield trait in a detachment that has this Oath of Moment lose all variants of the Line and Vanguard special rule and may not thereafter gain any version of Line or Vanguard. Such models gain the Doomed Heroics special rule, with the value of X on Doomed Heroics being equal to twice the value of X on the special rule lost. So let's say your Terminators had Vanguard 3, well now they're going to have this Doomed Heroics 6 special rule. If you don't have either Line or Vanguard, let's say a character, then you simply gain Doomed Heroics 3 special rule. Now what is Doomed Heroics? Whenever at least one unit that includes a majority of models with this special rule is on the winning side of a combat, so you don't have to completely destroy your enemy. You just have to win a combat. Where one or more of the following was true at the start of the fight subphase, then the controlling player scores a number of victory points equal to the value of X from the special rule. So your characters, for instance, will be scoring 3 victory points. When this happens, your Terminator squad might be scoring 6 victory points. Now, they have to have this, it has to be hard, right? So, one of more of the following have to be true. The total number of models on the enemy side is more than twice the number of models on the Blackshield side. So if you charge, let's say, just one Centurion into combat, as long as there are 2 enemy models that you're in combat with, this goes off. You get these victory points. The enemy side includes more models with the command or any models with the Paragon type. Probably not going to happen very often if we're doing what we're going to do. And then the enemy side includes a majority of models with a higher weapon skill characteristic. Really, it's that first one that's going to happen time and time again, depending on how you build your army. The total number of models on the enemy side is more than twice the number of models on the Blackshield side. If you then win that combat, you get victory points. If it's a command model, you would get 3 victory points. Okay, so that's the Blade of the Just. Now, keep that in mind. We're going to look at the next one, and this is where things get absolutely out of control. So we have this second oath of moment, and remember, you can take both of these, alone and forgotten. I'll read the lore. In many cases, Space Marine forces abandoned and betrayed during the Horus Heresy were reduced to just a few combat-hardened survivors, heroes with no purpose left but to fight and die. Warriors from which the war had taken everything they held dear. Such forgotten heroes were drawn to each other and swore binding oaths to find for themselves a worthy place to die in combat. So already you can see there's some synergies just from the hints from the lore. Now, what is this oath? A detachment with this oath of moment may only have command choices selected for it, but gains bonuses for those units in combat. Okay. So a detachment that has this oath of moment, it's a little complex, may only include command choices. All troop slots in a primary or allied detachment with this oath of moment or any auxiliary detachments attached to such a detachment are replaced with command slots. However, the only units that may be chosen to fill those command slots, so those are the ones specifically replacing troop slots or any other slots in any other detachments, are Centurions or Centurions in Terminator armor. So the majority of your force is going to be Centurions. That includes Centurions with jump packs or Centurions in Terminator armor. You do, however, still have the command slots within your primary detachment that can be any command units. They can be Praetors, what am I doing? They can be Librarians, they can be Chaplains, they can be Moritats. Now, all command choices selected for a detachment with this oath of moment may have 2 of the following characteristics base values increased by +1. You can have +1 weapon skill, +1 ballistic skill, +1 strength or toughness, initiative or wounds. Absolutely insane. So we want to be in combat, right? This is all about winning combats and getting into combat. So the ones we're probably going to pick is weapon skill and wounds. Weapon skill, obviously, extremely important in Horus Heresy, and going up to weapon skill 6 makes you an absolute monster against almost anything except special characters and Praetors. So difficult to hit because everything is generally hitting you on a 5+. Alright, so that is a whole bunch of Centurions, a whole bunch of command slots that now have 4 wounds apiece and +1 weapon skill. Sometimes the toughness might be worth it. Maybe if you're going Terminator characters, now they're up to toughness 6 with 5 wounds, right? So these things are getting real beefy. All Centurions and Centurions in Terminator armor selected as part of a detachment with this oath of moment gain the following special rule, so we're not done yet. To fight and die alone. A model with this special rule cannot join units, but gains bonuses when fighting alone. A model with this special rule may not join any other unit. While part of a combat where this model is the only model the controlling player controls in that combat. And remember, we want that to be the case because we want to get off this, remember this one, the Blade of the Just. And we want to be outnumbered, so we want to have just single models in there being outnumbered by pretty much everything. Okay, so while a command unit is the only model in that combat, that player gains a bonus of +4 to their combat resolution score, with a further bonus of +1 combat resolution points scored for each wound lost by that model, as long as it doesn't die. Okay, so we're getting +4 to our combat resolution. Now, noting we only have 4 wounds, we're essentially going to win. As long as we kill some models, right? And even if we get wounded, that actually helps us here. As long as we don't die, we're always going to win combat because you're going in on your own, right? So unless you get challenged and killed, essentially, or unless you get, even if you get challenged and don't get killed and just lose some wounds, yeah, crazy. You're getting +4 to your combat resolution score. So you're almost always going to win the combat that you go in as a single model, unless you die. So unless you die, you are generally scoring these 3 victory points in every combat that you go into. Now remember, when you win combat against a unit, it's no longer it runs, you chase it down and kill it, and you're done, right? You score those 3 victory points and you're done. That's not how it works anymore. That unit's going to run away because you're probably killing 3 to 4 of its models and it's not doing anything back to you. Let's say it's a tactical squad, despoiler squad, assault squad, even elite infantry at this point, maybe some terminators unless they're packing some pretty serious weaponry. They're going to run and you're going to catch them. Let's say you do catch them. Well, in that case, the combat continues, but they're now routed, right? So they get worse. They're down to initiative 1. And you're in combat with them again. You get to fight again in the next turn and have another chance to win those 3 victory points again. It's not like you just charge in, the unit's going to die if it gets chased down, and those victory points are not going to happen ever again. No, it's each turn, because you're only going to kill 3 to 4 models with your Centurion or with your command model. You're not going to wipe out the squad. So you'll get to do this 2, maybe 3 times into most squads that you're charging and then chasing, as long as you're managing to chase it down. 3 to 4 times for bigger squads, you're going to score between 6 to 15 victory points, essentially against each squad that you're farming for victory points, that you're getting into combat with and just slowly winning combats against them and hacking away with your single command models. Unless, of course, you die, but here's the real sweet spot. If a model with this special rule is removed as a casualty during any initiative step of any combat, then the controlling player of this model gains d6 plus 1 victory points. So let's say you don't win the combat. You don't get your 3 victory points. You actually die. They beat you in combat. It happened in the game that we played. I did win a few combats and kill a few Centurions in combat, a few command models in combat. Well, if it's that Centurion or Centurion in Terminator armor, not any other command models, right? If it dies, it gets d6 plus 1 victory points. Now, my mate Dean, who I was playing against, was rolling pretty hot on this, but that's an average of 4 to 5 victory points for every model that dies in combat. There's a Centurion or Centurion in Terminator armor. Now, in a 2,000 point game, my mate was able to fit in 18 command models. That's 18 separate units, 18 absolute beat stick characters with +1 weapon skill, +1 wound, that were getting into combat and scoring those victory points up above those 3 whenever they won combat, or when they were dying in combat, they were scoring this d6 plus 1 victory points. On top of that, any games with objectives, they're going to be able to capture those objectives as well. There's no rules in here that say these models can no longer capture objectives, so just leave 1 Centurion out of 18 that you have. I assure you that I did not have 18 units in my 2,000 point list. Leave just 1 of your Centurions. That's pretty hard to kill from range, right? Especially if you gear them towards it, you make it a Terminator, and now it's got toughness 6 with 5 wounds, 2+ save, maybe it's in Cataphracti, 4+ invulnerable. That thing's really hard to kill with shooting. There's a few things that can do it. I did take a las cannon squad and was able to pick off 1 Centurion a turn with my las cannon squad until he finally chased them down. And that's generally all I was able to kill from shooting. I took a few other wounds here and there. Maybe I killed 1 other. And then it was in combat. I killed a few more in combat, but generally my army just got minced up by these characters because there's so many of them. Now, the list that my mate took was pretty balanced. He had a good mix of Centurions on foot, a good mix of Terminator Centurions, some other command models. He had a Delegatus, I think an Armistos, a Moritat, these kind of other models. The Moritat was amazing, by the way. He rolled pretty hot for it, and it just destroyed my Dreadnought with its overcharged plasma pistols. Absolutely brutal. Especially when you can give it an extra ballistic skill. But this was crazy. So when I was winning and killing his models, he was scoring victory points. When he was winning combats, which he was winning all over the place against most of my units, he was scoring victory points turn after turn as he chased them down and kept in combat with them. On top of that, he was able to sit on objectives with a few Centurions that he left behind because he just had so many and score victory points from that as well. So we looked at these two rules and we'd been talking about it for about a week. And we're like, we think this looks absolutely broken. Let's test it out. We did test it out. And by the end of turn 4, I had taken an Alpha Legion list, which I thought was pretty good. Was not necessarily geared towards what I'd be facing, but definitely had some options in there. I scored about 17 victory points over those 4 turns. My opponent, with this army, combining the Blade of the Just, Oath of Moment, and the Alone and Forgotten, Oath of the Moment, to my 17 victory points, he scored 80. 80 victory points. It was insane. I don't think any regular army in Horus Heresy is scoring 80 victory points within a game. It was absolutely abusive. This army he took, that mix of on-foot Centurions, Terminators, and a few jump packs here and there, wasn't even really optimized. If you really wanted to get abusive with this list, you would of course put all your characters with jump packs, and they're all now getting in combat in turn 2, because the only way really to defeat this army is to kill those characters by shooting. If you're killing them in combat, your opponent's still scoring victory points. And when they've got assault, they've got jump packs, they're getting in combat turn 2, almost guaranteed. You have very few chances to shoot at them and kill them before they're into your army. So that's the Blackshields, right? So what do we do with this? So that's it, I think. And look, we'll do a bit more testing. I'll be really interested. Please let me know in the comments if you've tested this combination, if you've played with the Blackshields already and tried this out. But I think this is going to be the 3rd edition equivalent of the Fury of the Ancients list. Something that's just so absolutely powerful and broken that absolutely bucks the trend of the way that 3rd edition works. It goes against all the regular mechanics that you see. Putting statuses on these guys actually helps them. It makes them stronger and tougher. There's so many separate units of them that they overcome the way that the game works around shooting and objective holding. It's just everything about it flips Horus Heresy on its head and just scores bulk victory points, which now the game is all about. It doesn't matter if you even wipe this army out. If they've already scored those 80 victory points, you're cooked. You're done for. So that's it. I just wanted to share this. Do I think this is an issue? No, I don't. There's always been crazy broken stuff in Horus Heresy that people could take. I think some people will try this out for a bit of fun, but for your narrative tournaments and whatnot, I don't think people are going to bring this along. And if they do, well, they're going to play it once. They're going to beat absolutely everybody, and it's going to be very, very calmly suggested to them that they don't bring it to the next one, because it's not necessarily much fun for your opponent. I personally had a great time when we played this game. There was so much laughter as we looked at the absolute absurdity of what was going on. It's very clear that Games Workshop did not playtest this in any way whatsoever. It only took us light musings and a single game to realize that this was completely abusive and utterly inappropriate as rules go. So, let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think I am correct that this is broken? Do you think I just didn't play against it well? Or do you think that this might be something you might be bringing to the table? All right, thank you very much. Importantly, make sure to keep rolling those dice and getting hyped for Heresy.